Hello friends, it is September 1st and I am so stoked because it is fall. While the fall equinox is still a couple weeks away and that's the official start of fall, in my mind, September 1st is always fall because it's back to school time. And back when I was a competitive synchronized swimmer forever, and then even as a coach, back to swim season always started the day after Labor Day. And for me, it's just such a great fresh start feeling to hunker down back into new projects and new beginnings. And while there's several fresh start opportunities, I think throughout the year, New Year's Eve being one of them, of course, and spring cleaning, I love fall the best just because it is that energy for me again, because so much of my life revolved around competitive synchronized swimming and school, and just I think the weather is beautiful out, and the holiday season is always fun, and the flavors of fall, the pumpkin and the butternut squash, everything about fall is just awesome. And so for me, it is my most favorite time of year for a fresh start. And who doesn't love a good hearty declutter in order to give yourself that fresh start? I certainly do, and you probably do too if you clicked on this video. So I have 5 things today for a sort of kickstart to your fall season, 5 things to declutter. They're not going to be necessarily the most traditional type things, so if you're interested, stick around. All right, here they are, 5 things that you can declutter to give yourself a fresh start into an awesome fall season. Number 1, I've got the trusty journal. By the way, speaking of decluttering, if you've been with my channel for a while, you know that I have no paper in my house except for this journal, which exists solely for this YouTube channel, so I can write down my creative ideas. I have only, oh my gosh, I have 4 pages left of this journal. So we're almost near the end, so I will be decluttering this journal soon. Side note, no, I do not save my journals. I actually burn them in bonfire ceremonies to release old karma and create space for new things. That is a bonus declutter for you. And just in time for fall, I'll need a new journal, so that's exciting. But on to the actual video, 5 things to declutter for your fall season. Number 1, your camera roll on your phone. You know who you are, raise your hand. You've got 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 pictures on your smartphone. If you don't have a smartphone, my hat is off to you. Thanks, or good job getting out of the matrix. I have a love-hate relationship with my smartphone. Sometimes I get way too addicted to it, but I've been pretty good about setting parameters. I do keep it because I don't have a laptop, but one thing I am really good about is chronic deleting of pictures on my phone. Back in the day when iPhones first came out, or I was still a late adopter, but I got my first iPhone in like 2011, I think, and the novelty of being able to take so many pictures, it was like everything got a picture and everything was kept. And I've gone, one day I'll get to my Dropbox folders that hold all my pictures. I have a few folders from back in those days that have like 2,000 pictures from one year. And I swear like half of them are just cat pictures. Pictures of my own cats, pictures of internet cats, pictures of cat memes, pictures of cat cartoons, like just so many cat pictures. And cats are always awesome, but do you need 1,000 cat pictures? No. Do I go back and like cherish and look at all these cat pictures? I have a folder of my own personal cats that I owned, but like internet cats, I don't need 1,000 pictures of internet cats. And that's certainly just one fragment of an example, but everyone's got their niche, their vibe. Maybe it's a whole cornucopia, fall word for you, of different types of pictures you like to take. But a lot of people just aren't in the habit of deleting their pictures and don't think anything of it. And it just takes up so much storage on your space. For one, you can actually run out of storage on your phone depending on how many gigs you have of storage. For 2, we tend to think of the digital world as free, but even those things being stored in the cloud, it's like, oh yeah, don't worry, it's in the cloud. Well, there's still data farms, and that is still taking resource energy to be able to save all of those photographs. So if you have like 30 pictures of the same selfie, you don't need all those, or 30 pictures of one hike or one sunset. You can take the time and go through and start deleting them, because again, those data farms are harvesting energy to be able to store all of these massive amounts. Think of like your one phone maybe has 5,000 pictures in your iCloud or whatever, and then times that by how many people have smartphones in the world. That's a lot of data, and that's a lot of energy. As you know, in Econ 101, first day, they teach you there's no such thing as a free lunch. Everything costs something. So if you are just sort of lackadaisically, not sure if that's a word, but haphazardly, lazily, carelessly, those sound kind of negative, but hanging on to a bunch of pictures thinking that it's perhaps doesn't matter. One, it's energy used. Two, it is just clutter on your own energetic sphere. I talk about so much on this channel digital minimalism because yes, minimalism in your home and your space is paramount important for sanity. I think, again, there's a spectrum to it depending on what your needs are, but excessive clutter is going to have weight on you, and excessive digital clutter is going to have weight on you. So if you're trying to find that one picture of that one time and you're scrolling through a couple thousand pictures to get there, and it's just, you go through, it's an opportunity for distraction. And for me personally, while pictures are wonderful, and I'm not going to tell anyone to stop taking pictures because it's an incredible technology that we can look on very special times in our life. For me, that's what I reserve it for, is very special times of my life. Whether it is a wedding or an incredible, just something in nature I got to see, or a very special event or something from traveling. Those are all great things to hang on to, but maybe you can get in the habit of, or at least I've started the practice of, really just declutter. I tried to say declutter and delete at the same time. Delete, declutter, whatever you want to call it. Things in the moment, because to go back on from, say, 2 years past and you've got 5,000 pictures on your phone, that sounds incredibly overwhelming and boring, and you'll get through 3 and be like, screw this, I'm going to do something else. And yeah, it is overwhelming, but a good time to do that is if, say, it's a rainy day and you're cozied up with a tea or coffee. Or for me, I went through on a airplane ride and deleted a bunch, and that was actually a really great pastime because everyone gets fidgety and antsy on airplanes. So that was a really nice, busy work, but it was a great space to do it because I'm like, what the hell else am I going to do sitting on this airplane? That was how I got through a lot of them before I started my permanent in the moment declutter process. Now when I take pictures, I really only keep the very, very best ones. And actually, since this year, I just counted, I have 17 pictures saved total. And some people might think that's very sad, or what, do you just never take pictures? And I do, but I just have a very high level bar now of what makes the cut to be saved. Because sometimes you want to take a picture and just share something in the moment with your brother or sister or your friend, oh, look at this is funny, or this is cool. Or you take a picture of your dinner, okay, yeah, it's cool, look at my dinner, but do you need to save your 800 dinner pictures over the years and go back and look at, oh yeah, look at that roasted sweet potato I made, that was bomb? Probably not. Those are things that you can enjoy in the moment and then let go of, and then save room for more special things like weddings or a really cool trip to Tokyo or whatever. And again, just use your discretion and keep the very best ones that are special to you and let the other ones go. And it's going to give you a lot of breathing room. And for fall, we all know the holiday parties are coming up, and just new fun memories and experiences, whether it's going to get a pumpkin or a Christmas tree, or there's a fall wedding or whatever. Removing that clutter is going to allow new space for those important photographs to come in. So if you do want to go back and cherish the past, it's not this mountain of thousands of photographs, but a just nice, really curated bouquet that you can actually digest and absorb and enjoy. So that's number 1. Numero 2. Unfinished/not started projects. We all have these things around our home, or at least maybe I used to, not so much anymore. But whether it's art supplies or skiing equipment, or you thought you were going to be a champion pickleball player, but you still have yet to play a game of pickleball, or different sites, just gadgets, you thought you were going to be a master baker, so you bought all this crazy kitchen equipment, or juicing. We all have bought that juicer, blender, the $500 Vitamix, top of the line. You used it once and you're like, this is annoying to clean, and you never used it again. All these future versions of ourselves and all of these just projects, they sit and they loom on us, especially projects, these ideas that, oh, I'm going to build this thing or do this creative endeavor. Those are always good ideas, but sometimes you have to have a reality check. And if you've had that stuff sitting around for a few months now or a few years, you're probably just not going to use it. And that's okay. Sometimes we get creative impulses and ideas of, oh, it would be really good to try this, but there's a line between, oh, I just haven't had time yet, and you keep putting it off because your ego thought or your brain thought, yes, it would be very important or helpful or good to do this thing, but really your soul is just like, nah, I don't want to do this. And it's okay to not want to do something just because you saw someone else doing it on YouTube or Pinterest or Instagram and you thought it was cool, whether again it's some sort of art DIY or a sporting thing. Everyone is called to do different things, and if you've had that stuff sitting around and it's not been used for a few months now, chances are you're never going to use it. But when it's sitting around, not only is it taking up physical space in your home, it's taking up mental real estate because you feel this almost looming pressure to do it. Oh yeah, I've got to use that ski equipment this year, even though you just really don't like to ski. Maybe you want to just sit in hot cocoa and watch the snowfall, or you have all these arts of, yes, I'm going to learn how to paint, or I'm going to learn how to play guitar. Again, virtuous things, but if it's not what your soul actually wants and you're just doing it because you think you should be doing it, it's not actually going to be nurturing you. And instead, if it's sitting around not being done, you're going to have this pressure on yourself of oh, I have to do this thing. And if you're not doing it, then you're going to feel guilty. And then you're also not going to be able to enjoy slow living and rest, which is, again, that's a very fall thing as we come into fall's a little bit more, get back to the grind and whatever. But as you transition into winter, things slow down and things get colder, and it's nice to cozy up and have slow living. But if you have all of these unfinished projects or future versions of yourself hanging over your head, you're not going to be able to actually relax because you're going to feel pressured to do these things that you actually don't really want to do because that shit's just been sitting around your house. So go through, do a clean sweep, donate them. Don't just throw it in the trash. Find a good home for it. Say, thank you, but this wasn't the right path. And that will lessen the pressure off of your to-do list and let you be able to relax when you have precious time to relax. And it will also create space to maybe new fun projects or habits or activities you'd like to try that your soul really does gravitate towards. And you'll find that the right ones because you'll just start doing it in the moment. You'll say, oh, I want to do this, and you'll do it. And whether it is gardening or painting or learning how to bake or whatever, follow the things that you want to do in the moment. And if it's not something you want to do in the moment or the moment after that, then it's probably time to let it go. That is number 2. Number 3, this is more of a classic declutter, but worth mentioning. Fall wardrobe. If you didn't wear it last fall or winter at all, or you wore it very little, you're not going to wear it this year. Only maybe circumstance of exception to that would be, say, if you were pregnant last fall or winter and now you can fit into some clothes you had, great, fantastic. Or if you lost some weight because that was your goal, also great or fantastic. But for the most part, if you're hanging on to that Christmas sweater or that blazer or those certain type of trousers or those fabulous boots that you got on sale and they're designer, but they hurt the hell out of your feet and you want to just put some Uggs on instead, whatever it is, if you've been hanging around and it was hardly worn last year, it's not going to be worn this year. So it is time to let that stuff go. Pull it out of your wardrobe and create space. But here's the kicker. Here's my challenge for you. As you go through that hearty declutter and joyously pluck out all those things that you didn't wear last year, I invite you to, rather than see that as an invitation of, now I can go on a fall shopping spree and let's do a fall haul, because you're going to see that all over the internet now. It's going to be all over YouTube and Instagram, you know it. Instead of pulling those things out and making room for a haul, I invite you to the challenge of an anti-haul. Pull those things out, and again, try your best to find good homes for them. Donate them to charity, because that's a wonderful thing to be able to give, especially warm clothes that are needed by those who need them. Or you can sell them if you have patience for that. I barely ever have patience for that, but if that's fun for you to sell on Poshmark, I think, is one of them, if it's a more upscale thing, or Facebook Marketplace, or giving it to a friend that you know would actually enjoy it, that's all great. But after that process, instead of just going out and buying a bunch of new fall stuff, why not make do with what you had? because you had all that last year and you were probably fine. You just had the clutter of the other things you weren't wearing. But now that you pull those out, rather than see, oh, I need to plug all these holes, you already have a new wardrobe. It's a new wardrobe because it's a simplified version of what you need. I was watching, this is so unrelated to this video, but for the sake of this little example, it is. I love Lex Friedman. I have like a mad crush on him, full disclosure on that. He's just an incredible podcaster and so brilliant in his mind. And he's wonderful because he brings on a variety of, he does not make echo chambers. He brings on a variety of people from either sides of every spectrum and invites all voices to be heard and is very fair with that. So hats off to that, because that's pretty rare on the internet. And he's just handsome as hell, but that's not the point of this, why I'm bringing this up. He was talking to Elon Musk last night, and they were talking about algorithms for AI, and specifically with the Neuralink type stuff, where it's like they're working on projects with incredible things, being able to have people be able to see again or walk again. Really incredible things. But anyway, they were talking about algorithms specifically, and as an engineer, how you have to go through processes of deleting and then deleting again, and then deleting again. And it's just always simplify, 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 simplify. And I'm not in coding or that world at all. So that is, a lot of it was over my head, but still interesting to listen to. But for the sake of this little channel here, that resonated with minimalism and my own philosophy of the point of sophistication is to see how much you can delete without adding back in. The most simple thing is the most efficient thing. So back to this wardrobe, as you delete the extraneous, the things that aren't needed, and come back to this smaller compact thing, then you can realize it can be just much more streamlined. You'll have much less decision fatigue. And you'll find a lot more creativity too, because you can start mixing and matching pieces that you didn't necessarily see are able to go together. But as they were saying in this podcast, once things get to a simpler level and are more streamlined, you can see much more levels of efficiency and how things are able to work and move forward in the most productive way. If you are curious about wardrobe simplification specifically, I do have a video titled My Top 5 Tips for Creating a Ultra Minimalist Wardrobe. And I also have a video titled How I Found My Authentic Style as an Extreme Minimalist, if you want to check those out. But that is my challenge for you. Declutter all the things you did not wear last fall or winter, and rather than go out and buy a bunch of new pieces, work with what you have and get creative and mix and match and find new love for your wardrobe in what you have, but now in the simple algorithm that it is. That was number 3 for you. Number 4, another challenge, one of your vices. Whether it's a coffee addiction or a daily 1, 2, 3 glass of wine habit, or I am online shopping every other day habit, or my half-hour show of Netflix turned into I just watched the whole season on the weekend when I could have done so many other things with my time, or even more sort of flowery subjective vices such as negative self-talk or gossiping with coworkers about other coworkers and putting toxic energy into the air. You name it, you're aware of them. If you sit down for 5 minutes, you know the ones that probably need the most attention in your life. And fall is a great opportunity for things to fall away. A lot of times we all have heard New Year's resolutions, right? And people, they come into New Year's and that's a wonderful fresh start, a new year, that's all exciting. I totally support that. But for this, I'm saying why not get a head start on your New Year's resolution? Because fall, while it's wonderful and it's fun to have all of these holiday parties and indulgences, many people tend to overindulge. They drink a lot. They're having the cookies and the cakes and the parties and it's good to celebrate and have those things, those treats in your life, but many people take it overboard and say, oh, it's the holidays, well, I'm just gonna gorge on all of this, and they get to a point where they don't feel good, so it's not nurturing for them. It's not good to celebrate if it makes you feel not good in your body or ill or gain weight to a point where you physically don't feel good. Again, there's a balance between indulgence and treating yourself and living abundantly, and then overindulging to where that's not self-care and self-love. And particularly with, alcohol. That's one that can do a lot of damage to your body. So I say if you get ahead of your vices now for the holiday season, you have a stronger intention to go into these celebrations with, okay, I'll let myself celebrate and I'll have some things here and there, but I'm not going to overdo it to the point where I get to New Year's Eve and I feel like crap about myself, because a lot of people do get to that point. And if you're on rock bottom, I mean, that's a dramatic term for it, but if you are at this place where you feel like total crap about yourself and you feel like you overindulge, not just for one night, but for 2 months, it's going to be a lot harder to dig yourself out of that. And that's why a lot of people, they set these really grandiose New Year's resolutions, but they're coming from such a deep place, like a hole that they dug for themselves, that it can be very hard to stick to these resolutions, because it's such a huge pendulum swing of like absolute gluttony to, I'm going to have the perfect diet, I'm going to do a juice cleanse, and I'm going to be at Bikram yoga at 5 a.m. every day, and that lasts like 2 days, and then they're back to it. But why not come to a more place of balance and set that, pick your, again, everyone's going to have their own vices. We all, but I think if you sit with yourself for 5 minutes, there may be 1 or 2 that stick out glaringly, like, oh yeah, I really need to get a handle on that. Some people don't drink. I personally don't drink or drink coffee or whatever, but whether it's a food thing or a social media thing or a just poor behavior thing or not taking care of yourself in a certain way type of thing. Again, don't go so strict to where you don't enjoy the holiday season, but set the parameters for yourself now that I'm going to indulge by indulging in self-care and balancing having fun at parties with prioritizing treating myself well and treating my body, the only vehicle I really have, well, so that I can have fun with these indulgences, but not go overboard and still feel good about myself at the end of the day. And then you can go into New Year's and take on even more ambitions and audacious things, rather than just, oh, I need to start going to the gym and work off all that, weight I put on, or it's not always about weight loss, whatever it is. But coming to a point where you're already at baseline or in a good spot at New Year's Eve, and then so you can take on more of a goal, like maybe it's starting that business this year, or putting yourself out there in some other kind of way, or picking up something artistic or whatever endeavor you want to take on. I think you can see my point there. If you're coming from a better place into that fresh start because you gave yourself let go of some of your vices ahead of the season of gluttony, I think you're going to find there's more room for transformation and positive growth in that arena. Which brings me to number 5, kind of piggybacking off of that. Pick one thing that is a symbolic release of an old version of yourself. Fall is falling away. It is the end of the season. The leaves are changing. They're falling off the tree. It's coming into death, but death is not a finality. It is a transformation, and this can be a symbolic time to have a death of an old self. And it can be anything and everything. Again, I think if you do a meditation for 10 minutes or maybe even 5, or maybe it's already on your head as I'm saying this right now, there's perhaps a part of you that needs to die, and die death in a positive way, in a transformative way. Something that you are holding on to that is limiting your growth, that is keeping you in a box, that is keeping you stuck where you are. And it may be, it's fun, you don't have to, but as a fun sort of exercise, you could find something around your house that symbolizes that. Even if it is an old journal where you wrote down all these things that you're stuck on, like, okay, burn that journal and have a ceremony. But maybe it's an old outfit from your closet that exemplifies sort of an energy that doesn't suit you anymore. Or maybe it's some kind of supplies you have around your house for a craft that you used to do that was a good time of your life, but really just isn't serving you anymore. It could be anything and everything. And again, if you can't think of an actual physical thing to symbolize it, that's okay. It doesn't have to be that. Maybe just write on a paper and burn the paper or something. But anything and everything, whether it's a limiting belief system or a story you've told yourself, or an energy pattern that you don't want to fall into, whether it's people pleasing or attracting a certain type of relationship into your life, or you've been in the corporate world and you're wanting to break out and be more of a free-spirited artist, or maybe vice versa. Maybe you've been a free-spirited artist and you're like, you know what, I want to take on corporate America and do it. Like, yeah, if that's what your soul is calling, do it. But The point is we tend to carry these old identities because they feel safe, even if they're not serving us anymore, and even if they were not ever serving us and they were unhealthy, but we hang on to things that feel safe, and we get scared sometimes that, well, if I let go of this, then there's going to be nothing else, or this identity is everything I have and there's nothing more to me. And that is scary if you don't necessarily know what that future thing is, but it's a good practice to push yourself and challenge yourself to let go of these things so that you can make room for a new version of yourself and keep growing and expressing yourself authentically in the world, because we are always growing and changing, evolving, and who you are today won't necessarily be who you were last year. And if you don't like who you are today, you can choose to be a new version of yourself in this moment by changing your thoughts. And that's where where it's less physical, to set the intention of letting go of limiting beliefs. So even just I am an anxious person, I am a depressed person, or I can't do this, or I fear change. Well, challenge yourself. Those are stories. Those don't have to be truth. Those are stories you've told yourself, and you've saying their truth, but they don't have to be. And if you set a really strong intention going into fall to release those things, it's a nice opportunity or a good window to bring in a new version of yourself that is more authentically aligned with who you are today. So that is the list for today. Let me know in the comments if any of these resonated, if you've got something on your to-do list now of what you want to tackle first, whether it is those 5,000 photographs, or all those old Christmas sweaters that you aren't wearing, or the limiting belief story, or that one vice that you really want to kick. By the way, I do have 2 videos if you are interested about. One is how I quit coffee after 20 years of drinking it, and another one is why I quit drinking alcohol. If any of those speak to you, you can check those out in my other videos. Other than that, thank you for hanging out with me today. I don't have a very fall outfit on because we're getting a third summer heat wave in San Diego. It's going to be 97 degrees tomorrow. I am sweating right now, but fall is still in, the energy is in the air. Soak it up. It's a great time to let go of the old and hunker down onto the new and exciting. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.